Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Torchwood. Last time around we did Countryside, but we have watched 2 more episodes since then. Not 4 like we should have, but that's okay. We'll get those other 2 next week. Because we are doing 3 weeks in a row of Torchwood, because we're going to be doing today's episode, which is episode 10. And then next week will be episode 12, and the next week after that will be episode 13. Then we're going to take a slight break from Torchwood as we watch the end of Doctor Who Season 3 before we move on. So we have 2 episodes to review here before we get to this one. We have whatever episode 5 was called, Small Worlds. So with that one, that was the one with the fairies. And it was the first episode that we watched where I thought, okay, this was a good idea that we didn't react to all of Torchwood. Because, we watched Ghost Machine, and I thought, Ghost Machine was good. And we watched Cyberwoman, and I was like, well, it was interesting, it was thought-provoking. Now that we've watched Small Worlds, and we'll also talk about episode 7 as well, but with Small Worlds, I was like, yeah, that was okay. What do you think about Small Worlds?
Well, again, this is something that's been going on in Great Britain for more than 125 years, I'm guessing, is that going all the way back to pre-Christian times, the Celts and the Picts and the Gaelic people who are all there, is this belief that the countryside is inhabited by the fairy folk. Only in this instance, they were not benevolent.
Oh, yeah.
They were somewhat malevolent. And quite honestly, don't remember what the entire plot was about, just that, this was one of those...
It was basically these fairies are basically like targeting this little girl, and... targeting... They're basically her friend, but they're causing all these different things. They're killing people. They're hurting other people that are around her. Which, on the one hand, she was being targeted by a pedophile. He died. It's something. On the other hand, her mom's boyfriend is kind of a jerk, which he is a jerk. They definitely portray that, but did he need to die? I don't know about that, but...
But the whole reason was the fairies were after this girl because they wanted her to join them. Is that correct?
Yeah. And Jack and Gwen were mostly on the case for this one, and we did get a bit of backstory with Jack that he was romantically involved with this woman Estelle, long ago, and even before that he had seen this thing happen with the fairies, and he put it together that it was all related to children. And at the end, I think the thing the most worth talking about with this episode is the ending, where Jack just let the girl go and was like, she's not going to be harmed, and they're like, we will not harm her, she will be one of us, she will be safe. And he's like, okay, just go, because there was nothing he could do about it. And at the end, they all leave, and Tosh, Owen, and Gwen are all kind of giving him the cold shoulder, and he's like, what was I supposed to do? And I will say, it is an interesting thing. I think this, at least with this ending, it's like, this is more of what Torchwood, I think, should have been, especially at the start. Like, at the start, there's a lot of, well, we're the adult Doctor Who. Well, what does that mean? It means we get to curse and make sex jokes and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, more adult or more juvenile, really. But I like this, that it's like, we can have a darker ending, Like, now granted, I'm not saying this kind of ending wouldn't happen on Doctor Who. There are some times where even the Doctor would be like, there's nothing I can do about this. But I like that it's like, with Jack, it's really not possible for him to do anything.
Yeah.
And so it does create this interesting ending at the very least.
And they do set up the fact that the picture of Jack and the young woman was not Jack's father, as he said, but it was actually him. So they're beginning to understand that he is not who he seems to be. That there's something very different about him.
Yeah, because from the time we last saw him, which was at the end of season 1, where the Ninth Doctor leaves him behind, which at that point, he was just a normal human, and from there to the beginning of this season, we don't know what he's been through to get back. I mean, that was I think they said 200,000 years in the future. We have no idea how he got back. All we know is at this point he can't die, and what does that mean? And so now we're seeing okay, he has such an advanced age now because he's not aging, he's not dying, and so it's just little bits and pieces of that one. So overall, I mean, it's a good episode, but it's the first one where we watched it and I was like, okay, I would not have really gotten anything out of this in a reaction. I don't think this would have been one of the shortest reactions. So, after that, we did watch episode 7, which is Greeks Bearing Gifts, which was also another one of those of oh my god, I'm so glad we're not recording this. And in fact, because we watched this in the evening, and I guess just because it was during the evening, and we normally record these in the afternoon. So when I was watching this, I was kind of losing it. I was like, oh my god, I don't really care about this episode. It's one of those. It's not bad, but I was just I was exhausted and I was just kind of losing it. And we didn't watch another episode after that. We could have, but we didn't watch another episode after it. So. I don't know. What did you think about this episode?
Well, I remember that she was some kind of spirit alien that had been left behind. She originally called herself Philoctetes, which I only knew was Hercules' trainer, but apparently he had been abandoned on an island by his friends, and I don't remember the rest of the episode. What she was specifically after.
It was specifically because she was a prisoner.
Oh yeah, and had the little medallion thing.
Yeah, they also had the thing. It was to transport one prisoner and one guard. When she landed on Earth, she killed the guard, and then her whole thing is she feeds on people's hearts basically, and so for 100+ years, she's just been ripping hearts out of people and eating them, and that's been giving her life. And now that her transporter had been discovered, she was just well, I'm just going to use this and get out of here, basically. And the pendant specifically was how her species communicated. They just communicated with their thoughts and everything, but for a human, for Tosh hearing all the thoughts, it became too much for her in the episode.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, this is the first episode that has a focus on Tosh, and I just don't think it is that compelling. Like with Ghost Machine, which was mostly focused on Owen, I thought that one was really good. Yeah. And seeing him dealing with experiencing that same trauma that he saw in the vision. Whereas here, it's well, Tosh, because it feels kind of contrived too, with her hearing, Gwen and Owen's thoughts and everything, and it's just oh, they secretly hate me, they're horrible in their own minds, and because of that, she doesn't tell the team about this thing and about this alien and stuff, and it's come on, Tosh, it's the little bit of intrigue there is when she tries reading Jack's mind and doesn't get anything, but instead Jack notices that his mind is being read. Yeah. And so he kind of fights back a little bit.
It's kind of like that first episode where the other female member of the group essentially was outside of everybody else and gets killed off, and that's why they brought in Gwen.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. It just feels a bit forced, the conflict between Tosh and the team, and especially too because it's because we also did that as well with Yanto and the Cyberwoman, where it's where that one was also kind of forced just because we didn't know anything about Yanto at that point, but at least with that it made sense. Okay, this is a person that he loves. He's desperately trying to get her deconverted from being a Cyberman, and that would put him against the Torchwood team, want to just kill it before it takes over the world, basically. So it's I don't know. Again, it's not a bad episode, but I don't know. So far, it's the weakest of the 7 that we've watched so far. It's the weakest one, I think. And we did not watch episode 8 or episode 9 yet. We're gonna watch those before the next episode, and also episode 11 because we're not watching that on camera. But today, by popular demand, we are watching episode 10. I had not planned on doing this. I still really don't remember anything about this episode. And that was the other thing about episode 7 was when we started, I was like, okay, I know this is a Tosh episode. And then it just kept going. I was like, I don't remember any of this at all. And I kind of pride myself on remembering stuff about Doctor Who, but I don't remember Torchwood stuff at all. But anyway. But you demanded that we watch episode 10. Y'all said it's really good, so I'm going to hold you to that. It better be good. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's a good episode, but we're going to watch that. Next week, we're going to be doing episode 12, and then the week after that is episode 13, so...
This some sort of secret base. You must show me around one day, Captain.
Everything all right?
How long before we head off again? My uncle's expecting me.
When did you leave?
About half an hour ago.
Which date?
Today, December the 18th.
Which year? Which year? Which year? I need to know.
1953.
Meet the team.
Toshiko. Gwen.
Dr. Owen Harper.
John Ellis.
Emma Louise Cowell. Diane Holmes.
Please, follow me.
So they're 50 years in the future? 50 some odd years?
What does she think happened? It must have been like one of those murders where they never find the body.
They seem to think the plane went down in the sea.
This is certainly like the saddest episode of Torchwood.
I didn't think you should keep your name.
I suggest you use £25 for your food
Just
and £20 for luxury.
go somewhere where they don't know your name.
Magazines.
States. They're lovely. I
£10 a
think.
week.
Things are a lot more expensive now.
How did it do that?
And then look for reflections.
Bananas!
Of course, bananas are far more interesting.
Look at all this. We just come off rationing in 53.
Yeah, sorry. We are a consumer society.
It's bloody fantastic.
See, the future's fine. Just because your family's dead, you can get a banana.
Yeah, they would have had black and white TVs in 53.
Good God.
Welcome to the wonderful world of scantily dressed celebrities.
Super Excel waterproof luscious lashes mascara. I've got to have that.
There's children around.
She's a children's TV presenter.
What does that mean?
Eh.
She's putting the tea out of the tea bags.
Want to come?
England to Australia in 4 days, 1952. That is impressive.
Yeah, terrible wind across the Bengal Bay.
Something you ate?
Can I take her up?
No. You could get arrested. You haven't got a license.
But I... Bugger. It's no longer valid.
You could get a new license,
I guess
maybe.
I'm just another pig-headed man.
You know everything about me. What's the problem?
Gets kind of complicated.
How much are you willing to
You
accept?
fall through time too.
So, what other strides have women made?
Well, under strange but true, how about this? You don't have to have sex to have kids anymore.
What? How come?
Get
Magic.
yourself inseminated with a sort of syringe.
I just blew in from the windy city. The windy city is mighty pretty, but you ain't got what we got. I'm telling you, boys.
What do you think you're playing at?
Good
I
heavens.
thought I could trust you to behave.
I don't like liver.
Sit down, young lady, and be grateful for what you're given.
Why should I listen to you? Only my dad gets to talk to me like that. I'm never going to see him again, am I? Or my mum? Or my best friend? Or my dog? And I miss them! And I hate this filthy, stinking place!
I never had this sort of trouble with my son.
A bit of a misogynist then, are you?
Your son didn't fall through time.
It's not very homely here.
Not really that much. Doesn't seem worth the effort.
So, I know this is a couple of episodes since we've seen him with Gwen, but does something happen in between?
I honestly don't remember. So, I was trying to parse that out. I was like, did they break up in the last 2 episodes and we missed it?
I reckon you'll fit in just fine.
Well, better than the other 2.
Yeah, she was already working on her own, had her own career.
Just need to get another pilot's license.
I'm glad you haven't got a girlfriend.
Me too.
I don't know how he does it. He managed to get every girl in this show. But to his credit, he's vaguely charming today.
We could be fuck buddies.
What's a fuck buddy?
It's,
This, actually.
it's a friend that you have casual sex with.
And he lives here? In your parents' mind. Him as parents are a bit religious.
Oh, better not tell him you saw my morning glory then, eh?
Good heavens.
The thing is, I couldn't tell him your parents were dead. He'd ask too many questions. The thing is, he doesn't know exactly what I do.
Yeah.
We can't expect
Love the
John and
look on her
Diane to
face.
look after that. I mean, they're complete.
What did he do for a living? Was he in retail?
I think he was a fireman.
That's what I did. In the war.
It was really just his, like, trauma of the episode.
I bought you that football annual you wanted for Christmas, Alan. It was in my desk drawer. Alan, please.
Everything all right?
He remembered who won the FA Cup final when he was a boy.
He was just having a kiss and a cuddle. He was after a lot more than that. This is disgusting. I just want you to know that people are more sexually aware these days. Sex can just be about having a good time together. If you're in the right mood, with the right guy, it's the best. No big deal. So, if I meet a boy and we get on and he wants sex, then you think I should let him? No, that's not what I said.
No.
If you wish you waited for Reese. He's your special someone, isn't he? Yes, I suppose.
I suppose.
Sex with him is better than with the others.
Don't tell him
Mr.
that.
Right, I think. I'm really not the kind of girl who sleeps around.
Good.
Gonna brush my
Good.
teeth. Thanks for the chat.
Anytime. Good work, Gwen.
Not a problem.
Open this.
You know, how much does Torchwood pay that he gets an apartment with that view?
I've always dreamt about working in a London fashion house. They open the day after Boxing Day. I'll be a shop girl and a trainee buyer. And I can house share. They're giving me contact numbers. London's a big city. That's what my mum used to say. There's no rush.
It's bigger than it was.
Well, let's have it. Who exactly is Pollyanna? Oh, is it to do with work?
She was lost. I'm sorry.
What worries me is how easy it seems to be for you to lie to me, Gwen. Oh, the good life, full of fun, seems to be the ideal.
It's the most romantic place that Owen can think of. A vacant parking lot.
You won't really
thought maybe he was taking her to the real airport to see the modern jets.
And explore the unknown.
I think we've seen this scene before. But with Gwen.
You can't just throw it away. Not without trying.
I'm not as strong as you don't understand.
I do. I was born in the future, lived in your past. My time is gone too.
Why are you doing this?
You're still young. You can get work, make friends, start a family.
I did all that, Jack. Years ago. When I was meant to.
It's been, what, a week? And, it's like when I'm not with you. I'm out of focus. How have you done this to me? I'm scared. I'm fucking scared.
I love you too.
Seems unlikely, but
You don't have to go. If I don't, then I'll always wonder what it's like. London, Gwen.
I mean, it is London. It's not Mongolia. You can go visit her.
you've never been on a big bus like that, have you?
I fly solo, Owen.
I've traveled halfway across the country on
than
one.
others.
We have no idea how this rift works. You could end up anywhere.
One would think if he really loved her, he'd go with her.
I mean, he said that. She won't let him. Well, 1 out of 3. It works out.
Okay, so we have to assume then that she does not get back, because if she did, then they'd wonder where the other two were.
Yeah. So, what we are to assume is she did go through the rift and ended up somewhere else. Or sometime else.
And now they have to dispose of the guy's body, since he asphyxiated himself.
Well, they do that all the time. They've got a whole morgue they can put him in, but...
That's true. Well, that was very unusual.
Yeah, it's interesting. I understand why people wanted us to watch it. It is a very good episode. Certainly better than the last 2 episodes we've watched on our own time. And yeah, I genuinely just did not remember any of it.
Yeah.
I didn't remember any of it, and I cannot tell you if something has happened between Gwen and Owen in the last 2 episodes we didn't watch. I just don't remember. But we will watch those episodes before the next one, so yeah. we'll get it all. We're getting it in bits and pieces. It's a little out of order. It's like a Christopher Nolan movie, but it's all fine and good. So
now, I know that one of the things about this is, it's adult themes and everything, but the relationship between Owen and the pilot girl, the pilot woman, again, falling in love in a week is a stretch of the imagination to me. And again, I know they're trying to be adult and everything, but the sex scenes seem to be somewhat gratuitous. They could have done that. I mean, when they had the machine, the alien who would literally lived on sex, that made sense. All right, that did not disturb me. This doesn't disturb me. It's just I look at that and go, "Oh, seriously, you're only throwing that in to show that you can do sex scenes on TV." It just didn't seem to fit with the idea. And I realized that at the beginning they were just supposed to be buddies, but I don't know. And again, it doesn't bother me. It just seems like it wasn't necessary. There was more relationship between the two of them that they could have explored without doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it also just is odd because it's Owen in particular. I mean, couldn't have done that with anyone else, I guess. But by doing that with Owen in particular, who we have shown this entire season is just kind of a sleazeball.
He's what we used to call a horn dog.
Yeah, it's just like, his relationship that we have seen with Gwen is just like, I don't know, which when we watched the other episodes, I would like to talk about this overarching plot line of Owen and Gwen, because I barely remembered it. I remembered it a little bit, but it's weird. It varies from episode to episode. Yeah. But yeah, like his relationship with Diane is it's okay. It's interesting. It's, I don't know. It could also be that, like, the fact that we have to split the attention 3 ways, because you have John, you have Emma, and then you have Diane. So that's already cutting into each of their time. It's like, well, John, he's dealing with the loss of his family and his son and everything. Emma's also dealing with that, but she's really trying to integrate into modern life. Diane's not doing that at all, and is just hanging out with Owen for a week. And, it's this constant thing. It's like, I understand, she's a pilot and everything, but I don't know. I feel like you could wait and you'd be able to fly a plane, and it's fine. It's like, I understand there's like way more red tape than there used to be and stuff, but eventually you'll get through the red tape and you can fly again. I don't know about, like, who knows where she ends up by going through the rift. So I don't know. It's,
I mean, nice character development of the 3 new people, but and again, Jack being able to say, "Hey, I know what you're going through because I'm a guy out of time myself," and Gwen talking to Emma because she's kind of been Emma, but it's just the one with Owen and Diane. Just, it doesn't make a lot of sense. She was a very independent woman, and when she said "I love you too," that seems out of character from everything they had built up to that point.
Well, yeah. And really just the fact that now looking at it, I just realized, like, she didn't really integrate into society as much, and to be fair, John didn't either, but he wasn't trying to. But Emma seems to have the most. She was talking to the 2 girls in the housing, and then now she went out, got a job in London, and she's going and not looking back. And it's like, well, good job, But with Diane, it's just a thing of, she wants to fly, she can't fly right now, and she's just with Owen the whole time.
Now, again, script doctor talk here. I think if they had used the time with Owen and Diane to show him at his job, where she comes to realize that as much fun as they have together physically, that he is necessary at his job. What he does is too important for her to distract him. And that's why she says, look, as much as I care about you, you've got to do your thing, and I'm going to try to do my thing. So that is, to me, I don't want to say poorly written, but it was the least well-developed of the 3 stories.
Yeah.
Emma, young girl who, was just starting out in the 50s, makes sense what she did. It makes sense that John would do what he did simply because we saw that his reaction to Emma and all that, and how he was so set in his ways. And a guy like that being brought forward into the 21st century, I could see how he would say, I can't do this. This is the way I was brought up. I cannot live in a world whose morals are so loose and this, that. So those 2 at least made somewhat of sense to me. But the Diane did not.
Yeah. And with John, like, they could have shown a little bit more of, like, trying to integrate into the side. I mean, you see a little bit of, like, he's at the grocery store, which is a funny scene of the 3 of them at the grocery store with Yanto. And, he looks and is like, oh, well, there's this, scantily clad woman on this magazine. What are their children here? And Yanto's like, oh, she's a children's TV presenter. And he's just like, good heavens, But it's just like it's kind of a half and half of, like, sometimes they show John, he's definitely the most, I I don't know, maybe closed-minded, but he's more of that time than the other two are, and dividing that, between that and looking for his son and all of that, and realizing, well, it's like, well, my family didn't go anywhere, or at least it's ending now pretty much, and he doesn't want to start over. So it's like it's all these little divisions of things. It's still a good episode, but I understand why people want us to watch it. But
odd thing too is that his son Alan seems so old. So when John disappeared, his son was in his 30s. That they didn't set that up very well, because I had the idea that his son was much younger. But the guy who was playing Alan was obviously in his 80s or more.
They did say, I think he said that his son was born in like 1937. So they disappeared in 1953, so it's nearly 20 years. But yeah, it is a little, that is also a little odd too. And the whole thing of like, it's like, well, he got married, never had any kids, so there's no one to take care of him, which is why he's here and stuff. And it's just like, this is just, just these little extra knife wounds in his heart. But I don't know. And because that's also the thing when I don't know. It's difficult dividing the episode between the three of them, especially too because it's not just the three of them, but it's three people from Torchwood that are dealing with them. Yeah. And so it's like you don't see a ton of John and Jack, and then it's like, well, now we're gonna shift back over to Emma and Gwen, who's taking charge of her, but then we got to come back to Owen and Diane. It's just like, and also too because like their three plot lines don't really intersect that much. Like there's a little bit with John and Emma where he gets onto her for behaving poorly and everything, but after that it's like there really are just three separate plot lines. Like Diane doesn't really like, as soon as they separate, Diane is away from the two of them for the rest of the episode. Yeah. So and there was also the moment with Reese and Gwen, which is interesting. I'm guessing there is more context in the other two episodes that we didn't see, maybe building more, but this is finally addressing Reese at all, where he's finally starting to get fed up with this of it's always something about work and she can't say what it is, and now she brought a person, an 18-year-old girl, into their house, into their flat, and she can't actually explain it, and he kind of storms out, but that's all we really get of that. I don't remember if the next episodes really deal with that, or
well, that's one of those things. You marry a policeman, or you living with a policeman, you're in a long-term relationship with a policeman, there are things that they won't be able to talk to you about. If somebody's under investigation, they have absolutely no legal authority to tell you anything. Well, you knew that when you started going out with her.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because it's the jump from, she was just PC Cooper, and so it's just dealing with pub fights, pub brawls, and stuff like that. Yeah. Now she's been taken into this super beyond the government, beyond the police organization like Torchwood, and she can't even say that. All she says is she got a new job. She can't say anything about it, basically. So it's an interesting thing. I'll be curious if they touch on it again in the following episodes. 11, 12, and 13, or because I can't remember if it's that or if they talk about it more in season 2. I think they do talk about it more in season 2, but I don't know if it's in the rest of this season. But and it was also interesting too, when Jack says like there's no puzzle, there's no villain or anything like that, and there's not. And I think that's also really good. Like this episode, it doesn't feel like sort of just like, well, it's Doctor Who light, or Doctor Who but we swear a bit more. Is like, okay, this is a very unique storyline that really only Torchwood could do. You know, Doctor Who couldn't do this because at the end of the episode, you get back in the TARDIS, you send them back to 1953, and all, you know, and then everybody claps and it's all fine. You know, whereas here, and not that there's not dramatic stuff in Doctor Who, but I'm just saying, you know, but with here, it's like, you know, they have to. There's no way back. You can go back through the rift. You could end up on a completely alien world at that point, or 2,000 years in the future or something. But it works. It's an interesting idea. Could have, you know, maybe needed one more draft or so. But overall, it's a good episode. Let me put it to you this way: it's certainly better than Small Worlds and Greeks Bearing Gifts. So that's something. Those 2 episodes, I'm probably going to forget about them again. This episode, I get it. So, good job. I guess I should say, what are the episodes to watch for Season 2? Because I vaguely have an idea of what we should watch in Season 2, but I also don't fully remember. Like, the episodes in Season 2 don't stand out too much. So, I don't know. Leave down in the comments what are your suggestions for what we're watching in Season 2, because the schedule is currently open and fluid. So you can and so is Owen's bed. So you can leave your suggestions there. Have you got anything else?
Open and fluid. Sounds like my bladder at this point.
Yeah. So
sorry.
So, with that said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films. We will see you guys next week where we do episode 12. Which I believe is just titled Captain Jack Harkness. So we'll see you there. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our Torchwood reactions, as well as another playlist with every Doctor Who reaction. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.